Yo, it's your boy Ancient Albatross as a disembodied voice. I'm here backstage helping Santa and his elves out. But we got a wonderful show for y'all, and as usual, we have the lovely Cypher Unlimited crew. We have Anthony or Spigs18. We have AD or Alpha Dean. And Dean, what are we doing here today?
Well, we're here to hang out with some cool people. We got none other than the illustrious, magnificent, wonderful guy. We know everybody knows Ganza Gaming, but it's also Chris Negelien. He's a great creator out there doing his thing. Got his own Patreon, all that good stuff. He's got the Code of Ganza on Cypher Unlimited. So, man is doing his thing. And then we have my fearless partner in crime, I guess you would say, my nemesis in a lot of respects, none other than the man himself, Erik Frankhouse of
Hey,
Erik
everybody.
Frankhouse Presents. Cartographer, content creator, gamer extraordinaire, and one opinionated bastard. I love this guy. You know, so I'm gonna just toss it over, and he's gonna get into what we wicked little elves are doing tonight.
this Thanks, D. This is one of my favorite episodes we do every year. This is our naughty or nice episode, and I'm so happy to have Chris and Erik on because I got a feeling we're gonna have a very different point of view on a lot of things, and that makes for a good show and good discussion. We have Chris. What can I say? He has his own cult on the CU. you know, they follow him like a god. I say. And Erik, the bane of my existence. I love the guy. We argue on and off air all the time. And, I can't say enough nice things about him. But let's talk about naughty or nice. Okay, we're playing Santa today, guys. The whole purpose of this discussion is we're going to break down who or what we feel deserves a gift under the tree or, in the industry, whether something we want to highlight, something we love that's currently happened this year in the industry, or who deserves that big lump of coal, which I think is going to be the more enjoyable.
Two lumps.
So chat, what do you want us to discuss first? Do you guys want to know who our highlights and gifts are, or who our big lumps of coal are going to be? Erik is screaming coal, coal. That's not fair. You're a part of the panel.
Okay, so gifts from
I'll
Al.
give away a subscription if someone says Cole.
No, we don't. We want to save those for last. Those are,
It seems like we have one gift, one coal, and since it's our show, I want to save the coal for last. We'll start. Oh, Jason said start with the gifts.
Should we
So
go
who
back
wants
and
to go
forth?
first?
no, let's start with the gifts.
Yeah. Who wants to go first?
Give it to one of our guests. Give it to one of
I
our
will.
guests. Chris.
I will. I'll start it
Alrighty.
off nice because I know that I'm going to have a lot of coal to fire off on lazy friends in the companies. And I say friends. So I'm going to start off with the good things that's happening with 2020 and the way it's been and how gruff it has been. I love that our tabletop companies are embracing digital distribution more than they have before, and in improvements too with just how you can use digital over traditional publication. For example, having music tracks that come with your stuff. GM and player versions of maps, which Paizo is finally doing, where you can turn off the key implement like A1, B1, all that kind of stuff is gone. You can show it to your players. And then virtual tabletop assets. We just heard Monte Cook Games is leaning in harder into that and putting some stuff out, which I asked for. So awesome seeing that happen. But these are the things that to me are super important in a time where we can't play at a table together, at least not safely.
Yeah,
What do you
could
guys
definitely
think?
I could definitely agree with that. But let me ask you this: you think was that done because of the pandemic? Like just because people can't game now, like it kind of sped up the process, or do you
I think it
this
lit a
was something
fire
the
under their
companies were
ass. Yeah.
planning?
I'm quite sure. I would definitely say that the pandemic has caused an awareness, and there's been a cry for it. Because if you really think about it, online gaming has skyrocketed at the end of the day. I mean, there are people who've never online gamed that I know personally that are all over it now. So
Look, you have to pivot. If you don't pivot during this time frame as a company that usually chops trees and makes books, you're fucked. You have to do it. But the fact that they are doing it is awesome. And especially, I mean, honestly, it may be one of the only good things that have happened out of COVID. Well, no, that's not true. I finally got a new TV because I was stuck at home. And two, I now have people who know that virtual gaming can be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
That's a great point. There's so many people that have never gamed virtually, and now they're like, "Oh, this isn't half bad." You know,
Yeah.
I could actually do this.
I think it's a big hurdle.
I think what Erik said too about with all the additional assets and everything, them embracing it, it's also giving, like, people like myself, I mean, I did virtual gaming, but I'm actually starting to use the tools way more. It's kind of encouraged me to knuckle down and learn about, let me add a music track here, or let me do a little voiceover or whatever. It's just, throw a map up. I'm actually mapping. So,
Yeah, it's not just a Skype call with people talking and the sound of dice hitting a table. Like, they're actually using the implements that are there now. I think it's awesome that we're getting that.
Three-Headed Monkey said, I have done so much virtual gaming. Lots of Numenera over Discord. That's what I love to hear. Get the MCG games going.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question, because I honestly don't know the answer to this. But who do you think the pioneer was? Who do you think is leading the charge? What gaming company is leading the charge in this area?
Always has been, or new?
Or just off the top of your head?
Well, Wizards of the Coast, absolutely.
In some aspects, because they still don't have PDFs.
Well, no, they don't want you to have PDFs because they want you to go through D&D Beyond. They want you to buy all your books through their service. They don't want to give you an option. So
it's twofold.
And just remember, when you say their service, which is D&D Beyond, that's actually another company. That's a subcontractor.
I was just going to say that. Good call, Chris. Yeah.
Because, at some point, it always happens, either because a new VP is in charge or people want to mix it up or something. At some point, someone's going to say, would it be better if we brought it in-house or not? And you never know. You roll the dice when that happens.
You know what's the
problem? This is going to go in my coal section. We all saw Gleemax.
Oh, yes.
We're going to go there later on.
I mean, we don't want to get into the coal. I just want to say this. The only problem I have with D&D Beyond is it forces you to buy the same books twice, which is kind of a dick move.
I'm going to say Paizo on this more than anybody else, because anytime you subscribe to them, you get both the book and the PDF for free. You don't have to buy the PDF. You just get it. That was like the staple of what PDFs were in a subscription model. And I wish more people followed that, because if you're willing to buy the book at a premium, they're giving you the PDF. If you want to buy the PDF on your own, that's on you. But
Can I make a little slight... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's kind of a spinoff on that I've been thinking about, that is a dream of mine that I probably will never happen, will be the customizable PDF, where, you pick what you want out of a toolkit of a game, and then boom, that's what you hand your players, versus having to have actual graphic design skills to go in and...
It's not there yet. Like where you pick the chapters and it puts it together. PDF's not there. You'd have to write a program. I'm with you. I said the same thing. Like, I would love to be able to go through, for example, the MCG catalog and go, all right, we're playing Cypher, and I want this part from Presentation, and I want this part from, the World's book, and I'll put those together into a player's guide, and here's your player's guide. And you pay a fee of like $5.99 to make that happen or something.
Right.
I think that would be amazing.
I would definitely pay for that functionality.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Or on the player side of things, you're like, hey, I want the class that's in here, all my spells, and then I know we're using the rules from these 3 books. I'll pay the service fee of whatever it is to compile that together, and here you go.
Yeah, the guys that are doing the golf club set, Beazle, Buzzle, they're putting out a Kickstarter for It's a Fighter book. It's your journal, it's your character sheet, and
they're my sponsor. Yeah, they're awesome.
I was gonna say Erik knows a little bit about them.
Yeah, they're good stuff. I'm super. I've wanted that since I was a kid, because I love. I mean, I'm a journal nut. Like, for example, I don't know how many people have that.
Oh yeah.
But this is my way of journaling for my games and stuff, and I love having journals. But as a player, I want the class in there. I don't want to bring a bunch of books, especially traveling for conventions. And that's what I was going to say the biggest digital thing is for me. The fact that they're understanding that people go to conventions and that dragging your books with you is not fun, and they're giving you digital versions of it.
I will say this. before we go on to Chris's gift, Eric's journal looks like an old man's wallet.
Yeah, it is. It's there to stop bullets for all the coal I'm going to throw.
Mine are too far on the shelf in the back for me to grab.
Yeah, mine are over here.
My last thing on it, as I will say, a lot of people can learn from Monty Cook Games, is hyperlink your shit. The fact that they hyperlink so well, and actually Artel Soren's new Cyberpunk is really well hyperlinked. I think that was a big innovation too, is just going the next mile and making perusing something where you can't tell the pages you're in because you're not flipping it, giving you the ability to hyperlink. Genius. Now the PDF viewers need to update to make the process a little smoother as well.
So we'll move on to Chris's highlight or gift. What are you putting under the tree and for who, Chris?
So I'm going to give, before I do that, I'm going to give also a quick shout out for that revised Cypher book, because to hyperlink that was a chore and a half. Whoever did it, I still give them mad respect, because they probably wanted to at some point just bang their head against the desk.
Yeah, I believe that was Dominique Dickey.
Oh, she deserves all the love.
The intern, she was interning at MCT.
Oh, they deserve all. They deserve all the love.
Yeah,
and they quickly left afterwards because they had to hyperlink the entire book.
Yeah, they forced them to hyperlink not only that but several other books.
Yeah, I think the only thing that's not hyperlinked and it's kind of frustrating is the descriptor block.
Mine is.
I never noticed that.
Yeah, go try to click on where they got all of them listed. Go try to click on one.
It works in my PDF.
It works in mine. I did it. I think it
feels like this PDF is going to Dean. No hyperlink for you.
No, they did their own.
We did our because we know how to do that.
Yeah. I was like, well, this is dumb. I'm doing this.
So you're gonna teach me how.
Him or me or both?
Both of you.
Chris.
Point to me. So yeah, to my actual gift, my gift would be a big fat grant to game stores as they're going through COVID right now, especially the ones that are bringing a gaming community with them. I'm going to do a quick shout out to the Adventure Game Store, which is my local place. We have like a game cafe and everything. And, before COVID hit Thursday night, when it came to board game night, you had to do like this. People would come in, it was a community, and those places are hurting right now. And in fact, a slight digression, Brian put out a newsletter called Daring Do with stuff from, basically he goes, hey, anybody who's in our little cafe society, feel free to put something in and we'll turn it into a newsletter for people to enjoy. But they have to do things like that because, things are getting tough. So that's my gift to the world, to be a grant to keep the game stores going and the communities they support. Because if you have
That's very true. That's a lot of my consulting right now, is teaching people to pivot when they're a brick and mortar store.
My a few of the brick and mortar stores around here, they've done two of them that I frequent. I used to do my demos there all the time, and what they've done is they do curbside, curbside pickup, curbside order. Mm-hmm. The one spot was like you were saying, it was a cafe. They were a coffee shop, and they were noted for, they had all these great coffees, Iron Buffalo, and these guys would you can do it like drive by, get you a cup of coffee, pick up some books, some dice, whatever. So we all try to give them a little something, but the grant idea would be awesome.
Jason Art in chat wrote, buy gift cards from your local game shops. That's actually a great idea. If you want to support your local brick and mortar store and you don't need any books, you could always buy gift cards for them to, at least they'll be receiving some revenue. And it's a hell of a cool gift to give to someone else. Hey, you want to pick up your new gaming book, here's a $50 gift card or whatnot. So I think that's a great idea. But what I think I'm going to ask this question is, how sustainable do you think brick and mortar stores, and how do you think they're going to survive this? Because I can speak from my personal experience in New York City. We don't have many left, to be honest. I mean, we have a couple in Brooklyn. Maybe one or two in Manhattan, which at one time that was like the hot spot for gaming stores. Yeah. And, in the late 80s, early 90s, there was this big boom in the brick mortar gaming stores. And then they slowly started transitioning into collectible card game stores. It was a lot less
Everybody
D&D, a lot less role-playing game, more Magic the Gathering and Warhammer and stuff like that. And now those stores are starting to dwindle and go away. So,
Well,
I mean, I hate to say it. Do you guys think that there's, the brick and mortar store is going to survive?
do you want my
this?
honest opinion, or do you want me to candy cane this thing?
No, we're here to have the honest
All right,
discussion.
so here's the honest opinion. The ones that are going to survive are the ones that are willing to improve and change. Like we saw when bookstores were going down, they added coffee shops. That's something we saw, that people come in, they could read and do it. I think the ones that I know that are doing well are the ones that have an online store or have turned to having an online store, and they're using their email community or their social media following saying, yo, I know we're not open now, but here's what we're doing. And then one of them that is doing very well is facilitating a Discord with their local community to still run all of their nightly stuff that they had online through virtual tabletop, through I always forget the one that's on Steam where you can play board games and stuff, the actual 3D modeled ones.
Yeah,
and they're
Tabletop
still
simulator.
Yeah, they're still doing all of that stuff, and they still have a cafe. And then the cool thing that they did is those who are local, there's a subscription model that you can be a part of. All the things that you would buy at the store, drink, eat, they're driving around and dropping them off on Thursday for your Friday Night Magic.
Mm-hmm.
So they're delivering them to people's houses, and they're also delivering your bubble tea that you would buy and all that kind of stuff. And they're delivering them that Thursday night or that Friday morning, so people who want to be involved can still be involved. And there's obviously a radius on it, but if you're not in the store working, you have the time to do that. You just got to change your mentality. Instead of being down on what's going on, you got to find a way to survive. And I think the ones that do are going to come out really strong on the other end. But a grant definitely should have happened by now.
And I'm going to add to what you're saying, because that's what I was saying about the two stores that I know that are working. That's why they're working, because they have stayed in contact with all of us. It's and something else, Anthony.
Social media costs $0.
Something else, and that is huge that a lot of people don't realize is big cities like New York and places in California, game stores aren't going to do well. It's just part of the animal. But when you move away from the big city, brick and mortar stores have, they have legs, because people are more inclined. It's more open spaces for people to have to get to.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that point. I think like New York City in particular, it's a lot more hustle and bustle. People tend not to, but we used to have the mega brick and mortar gaming stores, though.
Right.
You guys have like 2-story game stores out there.
We had a place called Neutral Ground that was literally like the size of a Target. Had everything, every major Magic tournament, everything would go to this one place. And even those are starting to dwindle. And I know that if you go to the Midwest, or you go, the more rural you get, further away from the cities.
I only have one gaming store left here. I'm in Milwaukee. There's only two. There's a club and a store that is surviving. The store that's surviving partially owns Drive-Thru-RPG. That's the only one that's out here that has survived. But even Napoleon's and Establishment's gone. Like, there's that and a game club that are the only ones that are around anymore.
And see, like for me, with where I live at, like I said, there were plenty of game stores, but the ones that are making it, the two that I frequented most, my two favorites, they're doing well. But again, it's that evolution, it's that being morphic in the situation that you're in.
People who are watching the stream right now, if you have a local game store that is awesome, put them in contact with me. I would love to put them on our email list for different areas to see if we can't get them some more sales for what they're doing.
And even what Erik said is a great idea. If you have a local game store and they have any sort of links, put them in chat so we could take them and we'll spread it out. And maybe we'll
specials or anything
Discord
like that.
Server.
Yeah, we'll put it on our Facebook, our Discord, and everything else, our Twitter.
And afterwards, YouTube. Put it below.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chris is absolutely right, though. The brick and mortar stores are sort of like the lifeblood of gaming. That's what spread the word. So it'll be really sad to see them go.
And that's where parents learn that what their kids like. Like, they don't shop online for games. They go in and go, what's good? and they rely on that customer service aspect to make sure that they're getting zombicide and not squirrels like nuts. You know what I mean? Like, what is the good game to buy?
That is a very, very huge truth. Like I said, the one store I used to frequent, guaranteed this time of year, I'd probably talk to 60 parents because they want to know what their kid could get into. Well, my kid's just getting into Pathfinder. My kid's just getting into D&D, or can you suggest something? I mean, I probably sold, 20 boxes of No Thank You Evil last year because there were young kids who wanted to get it,
All right, so I'm going to say my gift, who do I think I want to highlight? And I want to highlight gaming companies that actually think about their customers and put safety tools in their games. I think this has been a new a sort of a new way of doing things, and they've gotten some feedback and some not so positive feedback, so and I think it takes a lot of guts to be the first few companies to actually say, hey, we're gonna embrace this, and we're gonna, roll it out and actually put it in our games. And it wasn't Monty Cook Games that started it, I believe, but there's, they were one of the pioneers, and there's a lot of other companies following suit now. So, I don't necessarily agree with every safety tool, but I agree with everyone's right to want to use safety tools if they feel comfortable.
I can agree with that. Yeah. I mean, because like we said when we did our video on it, the biggest thing is this: if you don't need them, don't use them. But it doesn't hurt that they're there for those people who do. We're in a different age. It's not, the gaming community is not what it was when I started. I can tell you that much. It's a whole different animal now, and it's a whole lot more mainstream. It's a whole lot more accessible than it was. So yeah, those things need to be in place. And for anybody out there who has a problem with it, you know what? Why don't you just take a long walk off a short pier and shut the hell up? So that's just me. We're doing naughty and nice, so I'm not being, I'm not going to mince words.
Don't worry. I always say something worse. You're okay.
Do you guys have anything to say about safety tools?
Chris, you got anything before I say anything?
I mean, what can I not say? They're a great idea. They've been around in one form or another, but especially with like a lot of the later generation RPGs, a lot of stuff that we thought was just kind of common sense became written down as best practices in different games. Mm-hmm. And I mean, yeah, you keep something in your car in case you have a tire, right? So a tire, it's good to have the safety tools in case they're needed.
Yeah, I think that the at-home me doesn't care about them. Like the me playing with people I play with all the time, not as much care. But me playing with new people all the time, traveling conventions, it's great because you don't know the level of comfortability. But the biggest thing is game to game is different. Right. What I have in Vampire the Masquerade versus a D&D game, or what I have in my home setting of Athantia versus what's going to happen when I run Candyland as a tabletop RPG, is not going to be the same experience. Exactly. And people get really they get really bent out of shape because it's called safety tools. But look, man, they've been in every form of everything from sports to jobs to OSHA existing. They've always been there. And when something hits a certain level of growth, you have to put some rules in there to make sure that everyone is safe and comfortable. And if that bothers you because that person wants a certain rule, and this is just me being blatantly honest, then just play with a different fucking group. It's not for you. Play with somebody else. It's okay to play with different groups. You don't have to be locked with the same group your entire life. You can have your home group and have a side piece. Like you can go play with other people. It's fine. And I can't preach that more. And the reason I say that is conventions, you're going to be playing with different people in almost every table. And when we get back to that, or if you're doing it virtually right now, those safety tools are to put everyone in ground zero. Here's where we're at. Some are above the line, some are below. And LARPs have been using it forever. Yep. You're a LARPer, there's always kind of been that, especially in Nordic LARPs. They had to.
And that's just it. That's why, that's why I said what I said, take a long walk off a short pier, shut the hell up. Because, if it's not for you, you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
You
If it's
know,
not for you, they're not for you. That's cool. Don't use it.
exactly.
You and your
It's
group are
not, and
fine.
nobody's telling you, but you know what? Let everybody feel comfortable. Let everybody feel safe. Let everybody be able to
Mhm.
say, hey, you know what? I went and sat down at Anthony's table, and that guy, my
Asshole.
first time, that guy, he said he was an asshole, but guess what? I felt great at the end of the day. It was a fun time playing with that asshole Anthony. I mean, that's what we want.
I
I
mean,
think the
Eric
evolution of it too is building it for your game. That's a big thing.
Yes.
1,000-Year-Old Vampire right now, he made his own because it's a solo game where you're checking yourself as you play it to make sure that like you're not going into a bad zone and it's a flower that you fill out. I think some companies doing one specifically for their game is very important as well.
I mean, Eric brought up a great point. I think this is a huge misconception of safety tools with I can't run adult themed games. That's not what it is at all.
Not at all.
What it means is that you're having a discussion. If you have 5 people agreeing to play an adult themed game, this is what's going to be in this adult themed game. Because you can even run the most triple X version of a game, there's still going to be something that triggers someone, so it never hurts to have those discussions.
Come on,
I want to ask, the 3 of you guys are designers though, right? When you sit down and design something, are you taking safety tools in mind now, since it's now starting to slightly become a industry standard?
I write my safety rules afterwards. I don't write them during because I don't know what is going to cause possible reaction until I've ran it a few times. Like I didn't think about Cyberpunk causing issues until I've ran it a few times because I'm used to the set piece.
Right.
And then I write them.
And that's the thing, you got to think about it. You got to think about it in this respect as well. Sometimes, unless I'm writing something from the ground up, it's being written as a supplement to be plugged in somewhere else. So the whole thought process is, am I writing something that is adult? Am I writing something that can be adult? Am I writing something that, shifts 2 different directions? So it really depends on what's going on at that moment, how I have to look at the idea of safety tools.
How about you, Chris?
It's more for me, that comes in one of the later rewriting stages. Also, you work for different people who have different audiences. So they have also their input as well. If you are coming in, especially if you're coming in for work for hire somewhere, and it's your baby, you need to go get a thicker skin, because you may, depending on the audience, you might have somebody, I haven't had it happen yet, come back and go, oh, you need to crank that up, But
I've never had that.
It's a possibility.
Down.
Yeah, I've never had anybody say, I was. Hold on there, Charlie. Hold on.
A lot of times I like to offer more and then, go, I'll trim it back and keep something in my back pocket. And if they say, oh, we need to trim it back some more, that's fine too. I still get paid either way.
For years, me, when I go to run at conventions, was always using the rating system for movies. That's how I did it for years, like G to NC-17. And then whatever the lowest one was out of the group, that's what I would run. And some people try to be smart asses and tell me we're running a G game. That was your mistake. Because I still ran a G game and everyone was like, this was the best game ever. I'm like, I don't have to swear.
You should invite those IGMs.
Don't do that. But I think they are very important tools, and I'm glad they're being used. We couldn't have things like Bluebeard's Bride without them.
Right. So we're gonna move on to the next one.
Yeah. What's your gift, Dean?
The gift that I'm looking at from the industry or in the industry these days is the variety. At this point in time, we are in game nirvana. There's so much to choose from. There's so many different directions to go. There's, there's the crunch. There's the rules light. There's the absolute damn near no rule to, I want to beat my head against the table because I'm doing, pre-calculus formula. But you have those options in that respect. You have the narrative games that, push the envelope. You got great artwork. You got, just the multitude of possibilities of what you want to do. It's staggering, when I think back to when I started, because when I started, there was Dungeons and Dragons. A few years later, we got Gamma World, Star Frontiers, and Villains and Vigilantes. And for the longest time, that was about it. You know, then the next thing I know, look at us now. It's awesome. So I think that's like a magnificent gift.
I think that goes hand in hand with indie game companies and self publishing, and you know, not only do they, self publishers and all these great indie game companies that came out, but they also affect the big boys. They affect the big companies because they push in the envelope. They trying different things, and it forces the bigger companies to take more risks instead of playing it safe. So you're absolutely right. If you walk through like a Gen Con or something, there's a game for everything. It doesn't matter what setting or genre you're into, you're gonna find a game for it. Is it a good game? Who knows? But the setting and genre is out there. So you're
Look,
absolutely right.
I'll tell you like this, which blew me away. You can go right on Drive Through RPG. There's a guy on Drive Through RPG right now that's basically doing uh, X-rated softcore porn RPGs. The old Barbarella
Yep.
and Flesh Gordon, all that kind of stuff. He's got a whole line. So I mean, you're right. It's out there. It's out there if you want it. So, which it's crazy. I thought that was pretty wild when I saw
I'll
it.
never forget when the book of erotic fantasy came out and everyone lost their shit.
Oh
it was
my
like
God.
the 80s all over again.
It's
Satan was
almost-
taking us over, but now it was the sex industry. Like,
Yeah.
I'll never forget when that got released.
Oh my God! I still got a copy of that book.
In order to G up this episode a little, we could go to the other side of the spectrum. There's tons of games for kids as well now. There was never all
They make
these
kid
great,
games?
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
listen,
thank you, evil.
Tiny
There's so many games out there that you could play with your children. There's games for autistic children. There's games for different kids on different areas of disabilities.
That's what I'm saying. Accessibility, the new accessibility tools that are coming forward. For the blind, for autism. People are modifying systems so they can, bring people in. It has been, it's pretty doggone, just beefy, and I think it's great.
Well,
All right.
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh no, I was just playing the earpiece.
Sorry.
No, I was just.
You raised your hand. You're in class, Chris.
So let's move on to the other end of the spectrum.
First let's before we do that, let's ask chat. Is there anything you want to give a gift to in chat? Does anybody have something in the gaming industry they would like to share
Highlight.
with us and want us to discuss if they think should be a gift?
I know that there are some people who are making games right now. Online communities. Yes, dude. Online communities are awesome right now. But I know there's some games coming out that I literally just showed this off before the show. This company, people are doing these super affordable games right now. This reminds me of the old cheap ass games model. If anyone remembers cheap ass games back in the day, where you had to build your own. Oh, now the static's gone. Whoever did that was golden. But this company, Mothership of the new version.
Mothership, yeah.
And I finally got their
dope
Kickstarter.
game.
I shouldn't say finally. They turned this around in like 6 months or something ridiculous.
Okay, so Brian and I said he likes games, things that are not focusing on personal violence. He finds those games really interesting.
Yeah, you got to have some good mechanics for those too, because that's all we've been trained to do.
Doing one. Yeah, we kind of know about that.
Yeah, I non-violent games are rare.
Brian also said he thinks we should give a gift to all the GMs running games for their groups or making the transition to get gaming in during the pandemic. Absolutely right.
Yeah. Oh, and Al said online communities, cough, cough, Cypher Unlimited, Yeah, those online. I think those online communities do deserve something because it's a lot to be said for, places to go to find like-minded people into the same kind of craziness you're into.
And I will say this for the GM that transitioned to online gaming that wasn't accustomed to, there's a learning curve. So they actually had to spend more time either figuring out a VTT, a virtual tabletop platform, and we changing their mindset, their prep work. So thank your GM, especially a GM that wasn't used to playing online, because they probably dedicated a couple of hours to give, in addition to the hours it took them to run the game, to provide you a fun experience. So that's absolutely right.
I'm jumping in here
agree.
because as I've learned from doing one shots with a prep to adventure, I could see why for a lot of people online gaming has become really great, because they're trained to go, I go to my character sheet, I click the dice button, and then everything else happens. So it's like, that's work for
the medium
GM.
between everything, I think that online gaming, if you're a GM, my advice to you, as someone who does an advice like podcast for this stuff, keep it simple, add as you go. Don't think you have to use all the tools. And then if they're having fun and you're having fun, you're doing it right. Like, that's it. That's all there is to it. You don't have to run a stream when you run a show at home. Like, my Beer and Pretzels games aren't the same as my Athantia live stream. That's nowhere near that. And if you were going to run something and you're not sure how to do online tabletop stuff, and let's say you're a D&D fan or upcoming with the new Cypher stuff, buy one of the pre-made modules online instead of buying it physically. So like if you want to do Icewind Dale, buy it on Roll20 and everything is already put together for you. So instead of you having to like learn how to upload things and do things, all you're going to be doing is putting player tokens in and clicking some stuff. And you can still run the same game you'd run at home. Maybe even better, because all of the props are right there.
Yeah. So all those people deserves gifts. So when you wake up in the morning, there'll be a nice gift under your tree from Cypher Unlimited, Ganza Gaming, and Erik Frankhouse presents. So, we're really happy for you. But now it's time to move on to the naughty list. Those bad boys and girls that don't deserve anything because they're rotten to the core, I say. So I'm going to go first because I think I have the mildest of the four of us. So we kind of touched on this a little earlier, but hyperlink your shit. Like, come on. It's 2020. In this day and age, if you're putting out a PDF, hyperlink it. Go the extra mile. And have some digital tools. Have some digital products, for Christ's sake.
Anthony, I'm
looking
attacked.
at you, Wizards of the Coast. You know what I mean? Just sell a goddamn PDF.
It's the best thing I've heard about this so far is the people who go, I'm only a one-man team. I'm like, well, if you set it up in your project pipeline to start, guess what? You can do it just like everybody else.
And for what I heard is if you do it once, the process becomes a lot easier the next time you go to tackle it.
Yeah, it's like the first time you learn to use the bathroom. It's a lot easier as a kid after the first time.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many big companies do not have hyperlinked PDFs.
Well, like if
they're still working on indexes.
If it's this big, you probably don't need to do it. You don't need to do it for this. And I'm looking at you, Paizo, my friends who work there. When this is the fucking book and you're not hyperlinked and you hand me a PDF, I'm going to beat you with your book. It's ridiculous. Hyperlink it, and there's no reason not to. You just put out a second edition of a book. And you're with the second largest company. Get your shit together.
The funny thing with Paizo is that they give away their PDFs for free. How about
if you're subscribing?
Yeah.
If you subscribe, yeah. But just do it. There's no reason not to. It's just laziness.
One month of that subscription money and hyperlink on your back catalog.
I mean, and that's really the truth because,
Don't even do that. Just do your second edition stuff. I don't even want you to go back to the first edition. This is your baby, your game, your version of a Roll20, D20 game. Go through it. Hyperlink it. Make it function. There's too much flipping back and forth with shit. And you're teaching somebody a new system. When you're teaching a brand new system, you have to hyperlink to help teach the process because they can't put their fingers in 3 sections and flip through.
Right. And that's really what I was going to say. For a game like Pathfinder 2, you definitely need a hyperlink book.
You know what's the thing? The whole purpose people use PDFs is for ease of use and for speed. But now if I have to go like this,
or you got to remember, or you're gonna have to write down page number so you can go back, click.
Artal Soren is a tiny company compared to Paizo, and their entire book, including the images, are hyperlinked. I'm pretty sure you can handle it, boys and girls. I'm aiming at my canon at them, but I'm also aiming it at like Wizards of the Coast for not putting out product that has that. Fantasy Flight Games for not hyperlinking their stuff. You're the big dogs, and I know you think you don't need to, but you hyperlinking has nothing to do with your content being stolen. Maybe your content wouldn't be stolen as much if your product you were putting out was better.
And you know what's funny? You say that about Fantasy Flight. Fantasy Flight's a lot like Cypher System, where there is a lot of moving from the front of the book to the back of the book and character creation. So it absolutely needs to be hyperlinked.
Try running Star Wars.
You know, that's like one of the issues they have with with the Cypher System books, where people say, "Oh, I have to go from here to here." At least it's hyperlinked. But I could definitely see the Fantasy Flight books being an issue, because I created a character not just recently, but I was using a physical book. I felt myself going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
You know, I mean, I think that's kind of like the nature of the beast. You know, when with any game, I mean, you think about when we were playing D&D, you went from your race to your class, then you had to look at the weapons charts and so on and so forth. So that's the nature of the beast in these type of games. So it would make perfect sense to have, hyperlinks, so I agree with you 199%, and hyperlink your shit.
Yeah, I
there
know
are things that even auto do
compared
it
to your guys, but it still bugs the hell out of me.
Well, there's things that auto do it too. Like you can click and it'll take a word that is seen X amount of times. You can put limits on it. And then you can take those links and look through them and delete the ones you don't want and keep the other ones. Even at a base level, you can do it. But it is time consuming. But so was making the book to begin with.
Right.
I mean,
All
it
right.
ain't easy.
Anybody else got anything else to say about the hyperlinking?
And
Get
I'm
off your
willing
hands.
to accept free copies of your hyperlinked PDF gaming companies if you, want to get rid of your code. I'm more than happy to send my email out to get my.
No, you got to phrase it like this. If you want to prove me wrong, send me your hyperlink copies.
You can send us hyperlink copies and we'll review them for you.
Yeah, there you go.
We're willing to do that kind of stuff. I mean, because that's the type of guys we are. We are Cypher Unlimited, but we will look at other games. I got tons of other games, just for that reason. So, come on, Chris, give us your coal.
I'm excited for this one. I'm excited.
So my coal is it's not toward, it's to people, but it's also to an actual kind of an emotion. It's that
Mindset.
little green beast that was born out of being, hey, I like D&D back in the 80s and Satanic Panic, and you were bullied. And I've literally had people say, how old are you? Excuse me? And you're still, what? I don't, that's weird. And now things have changed. And now there are, handsome and beautiful video game voice actors who are like making millions of dollars. And you're, wait a minute. What? I went through all that and where's, and it's just a level of jealousy that kind of can creep into people and twist them from being, hey, how come no one else loves the thing I love, to suddenly keeping people away from the thing they love and becoming gatekeepers. And this is nothing new. We've had this discussion before. So I was taking that coal to the higher level of not trying to point a finger at a person, but at that emotion, so they can identify that emotion and stop it. Because I consider myself so OG, old school, that I'm like, there should be no gatekeeping. I have now heard why other, people didn't want to come, they had barriers. Now we know what those barriers are, those impressions are. So let's tackle it so we can have more people at the table to play.
Right. Agreed.
So that's it. My goal is that little green beast of jealousy of being, bullied and mocked. And then suddenly it's like, what did I blink? And now if there are other people and it's mainstream, and yet I'm feeling somehow, instead of enthused about new people and new opportunities, it's the opposite. This little, it's all jealousy and partially confusion, probably.
Oh, it's
Gatekeeping
hilarious.
is weird.
It's hilarious. and it's disgusting all at the same time. Because even me, I've been gaming, damn near as long as this stuff has been in inception, but I get it, because people wait a minute, you're like and they don't want to say you're colored or you're black but you're in you and but you shouldn't. Why shouldn't I?
You
That's
see,
the way you need to stop.
I'm going to tackle this in a different approach. I don't think it's
Okay.
disgusting at all. And I'm not here to defend gatekeepers. But I
Yes, you
think
are.
that everybody gets accused of gatekeeping at one point or another just by the phrasing. Like, like if you say, hey, I've been playing 30 years, you get the reverse. This guy's gatekeeping. He thinks he knows more than me because he's been playing 30 years. And, I think a lot of those players that went through that, like, went through the torture and the ridicule and the making fun of, uh, for playing a hobby that they enjoyed. And now they view those same people that were making fun of them are benefiting and enjoying the hobby, which I know is for the betterment of the hobby. But it's human nature. Sometimes you could be like, yo, this same guy, the football team guys, with knocking my book out of my hand in high school, and now he's on on TV, making six figures playing D&D. So I
But
can understand some of the animosity that comes from that.
you know
So
what?
I wouldn't necessarily call it horrible.
No,
Like,
you
I'm
know
not
what? And
defending the
I'm gonna
actions, but
say,
I'm just
you,
Look, but everyone can throw
I,
a football, but it doesn't mean you're going to be fucking famous.
I gotta disagree with you, man, because that's garbage. You know,
nah,
I used to.
D, let's be honest. You've been accused of gatekeeping on our server,
I
dude.
know, and
So
that's what I'm
so you're
saying.
gonna say
But no, what I'm saying is, but see, my thing is this. See, my thing is this. I've been accused of it, and I take the accusation and I let it roll off my shoulder because I'm not gatekeeping. I have an opinion. I have a strong opinion.
and those
People,
people feel the same exact
and
way
no,
you
but
do.
what I'm saying is the difference is when someone starts the gatekeeping in the respect that we're talking about. You know, I used to deal with the jocks. You know, why but I was on the football team. Well, why are you going to play D&D? Why are
Yeah,
you
but that's
playing
not that's
why
not
you
the
go why
point
you
I'm
going to
making.
play
The point
fantasy
I'm making
football?
is that it's human nature to want to protect something that you love and that everyone didn't like, right? And I'm not saying that I'm not defending
That's a
the
better
people that
definition.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not defending the people that are stopping, people of color or women from. I'm not defending that. I'm
Okay.
defending the idea of, hey, this was an unpopular game, and
Okay.
people ridiculed me my whole life for playing it, and now I view the same people that were ridiculing me are benefiting from this hobby that I've been following my entire life. That's all I was saying.
Okay.
So I take it as a change of heart. If people were giving, so I grew up playing. I think we're all roughly in the same 10-year category of
Yeah.
age, besides our producer in the background. I think we're all roughly in that time frame. But for years I was given crap for playing D&D because I was also a youth leader back in the day, like doing stuff in churches. And satanic panic didn't really go away in the 90s. It just wasn't as prevalent
It
as it
just
was
wasn't
before,
prevalent.
because we shut the door and stopped talking about it. Like it wasn't a thing anymore. We kind of hid again. And now seeing people come around that were the same people who had problems with what I did as a kid. Look, everyone grows. This falls right back to the same thing as, in my eyes, cancel culture. You're digging 15 years ago on something to cancel somebody on something that they did when maybe they are a better person now. If I'm taking that the same way with this, if someone was not a fan of what was going on before and now they are, instead of me going, no, fuck you, you don't deserve it, you gave me shit in the past, come on and play. And then if you're still a douche, that's when we're going to have words.
There you go.
And don't get me wrong, there's a part of me that still hopes you are, because I want my licks. But really, I hope you play, and I hope you enjoy what you're doing. And then also, here's the other thing. That person who just comes to play, and I'm going to take, everyone talks about the Mercer effect. people who play in the style that Critical Role plays, there's nothing wrong with that. You know why? Because 42 million people play D&D, and I would say a majority of those people are because of Critical Role. You may not like the show, you may not like how they play, you may not like how their critters play, but they do. And I like 80s football. I don't like 2000s football because there's too many rules now. You know, there's things like that that change, but just because they do something different than you doesn't make it wrong. It just means they play that game differently than you. Have you ever played Among Us? Among Us is different with every group. Like I want literally everyone has to have it so that you can only hear the area that you're in, because then you're not chatting in the background and ruining what I consider the game experience. But for them, it's about getting together and just stabbing each other. It's nothing wrong with their style of play. It's just not for me. So you have to, it's twofold. One, okay, maybe it's just not the right group for me. Two, is it gatekeeping or is it just a difference of opinion? But if they're still dicks, then yeah, slap the hell out of them. Like, don't let them get away with that crap. But I don't think most people self-realize what's going on. They just react. You got to take those 2 moments to think about stuff before you talk.
I'm with you there, Eric. You know, it's the ones, you know, it was like the one video we watched. It was some guy saying that women couldn't play, you know, D&D because they ruined the game experience, you know, because I know how the characters are supposed to be. But dude, you're playing a female character. How do you know what a female is going to do better than a woman?
You see, but that's just straight prejudice. That's just,
right, and that's what I'm saying. That's the assholery I'm talking about. That's
I think the word gatekeeping gets used out of context too much.
Yeah,
like you know,
it just gets slapped at everything.
Yeah, I think if someone says, "Hey, I only play second edition, and I think it's the best edition," they get labeled as gatekeeping. You know, I think. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
And on top of that, for that, to me, some of that irony is, I mean, for the experiences I had, I actually doubt that the people who were the bullies and the mockers are playing today. So the people you're saying can't come in and play, or I'm confused and I'm frustrated, aren't cut from the same cloth.
Right.
You know, and then again, just like Erik said, even if they did have a change of heart and grow and decided to, you know, they weren't too cool for school anymore, yeah, come to my table. And then, you know, I might find out you might still be a douche.
Yeah.
In fact, the only time I think of,
go ahead, Chris.
The only time I think of, I actually bumped into a guy that I realized probably would have gave me a wedgie in high school. We bonded over James Bond films, you know, years and years later. I mean, he wasn't even in my school. I'm just saying, yeah, I bet in school he would have been the guy giving me nuggies, but it's weird that actually we have a thing at work we can bond on and be friends about. So
and that's the other thing, you grow up. So
I mean, as somebody who actually played on the football, I was a varsity freshman year to senior year in high school. I actually played on the football team and I played D&D. But I won't lie though, it was two separate groups. You know what I mean? I had my football team, and then I went home and played with my D&D group.
No, it was the same thing.
There wasn't much overlap, you know.
Dude, I was Captain Misfit. I was on the football team, the chess team, and in the D&D club, and a library monitor. How does that happen, right?
Lots of drugs.
The whole package, Dean. That's how that happens. You get the whole package.
A good point is probably just insecurities. You know, like a lot of it is insecurities. You know, we're going to touch on another group in one of the other rants, but I do think that talk to the gatekeeper before accusing someone that they're a gatekeeper. Actually have a discussion, because I think you'll find that it's most likely it's a misunderstanding or it's an insecurity that can be corrected with some conversation. I'm not talking about the racist, the homophobic, the straight up prejudice people. I'm not putting those people in that category, but I think sometimes people get accused of gatekeeping that they just, you know, a little old, rough around the edges like Dean was when he got accused. You know,
conversation doesn't have to be confrontation; it can be clarity.
No, what it is, you know, we'll get to that in a minute. Erik, it's all on you, buddy.
What's on me? Oh, we're doing mine?
Yeah.
All right, everybody. I talk a lot. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's why I broadcast. It's why I do
That's why we
the
brought you
podcast.
on the show.
It's what I enjoy doing. But when you are a company who refuses to listen to your fans and you're being stubborn out of whatever ideal that you think you have from a game you made back in the 80s and you don't want to change, you're fucking wrong. Because your fans are what support you. If you are an artist and you don't care if you sell what you're doing, then guess what? You can continue doing that. But if you are and you're mad that your stuff's not selling or your product is being taken, you have to think about, did I listen to my fans? The good part of this, the non-Cole, is Paizo for the first time ever in their life, when they, well, I shouldn't say first time, when they first made a game, they put it out for free to everybody to learn about the game. The game sucked. Pathfinder 2, they did it again. That game really sucked. And they listened to their fans and they made something great. But then you have people who read comments that are unhappy about a game that they're playing. And you as a publisher or a designer or whatever, are unwilling to change your game because you feel you are right. I hate to tell you this, if you're selling stuff, your purchasers are right. The masses are right. Your idea can be good, but the way you executed it isn't coming across correctly. Change your shit. If you're offending someone, talk to them. Find out why. If it's one, maybe that's just that person. But if it's a lot of people saying something, think about what you've done and see if you can update it. It's amazing. PDFs are super cool now. You can update them, put them right back on Drive-Thru-RPG. I mean, there are some good things you can do. But if you aren't listening to your fans, and I'm specifically aiming this coal-filled cannon at people on Kickstarter. You are putting out a Kickstarter product, and you think you were right out of the gate, but you had nothing to show me as a product when you were putting it up, and I put my money into you, my sweat equity, my blood, sweat, and tears, saying, yeah, I believe you can do it, but you're unwilling to change your product to make it better when we get playtest, you are wrong.
Agreed.
Point blank.
Agreed.
You know, I'm gonna always bring the counterpoint because Erik and Dean are my two favorite people to counterpoint against.
Of course you are.
I want to ask one question: is do you mean artistically, mechanically, or when you say
it can be all of it? Here's an
product?
example. I'll give you one for each. If your art in your book is inconsistent because you refuse to pay the same couple of artists to do all your work, and half of it is clip art, you should have just went with all bought art on Drive-Thru-RPG so it felt consistent. If your fans are telling you, hey, this art's not consistent, maybe you should think about that for your next book instead of making the same fucking mistake again. If your mechanics don't play well because they're trying to teach people online, because everyone is playing online right now, and it doesn't come across in a way that is good, maybe there's a part of your game that doesn't function right. Or maybe the game isn't for them. You need to look at that and make sure, but you need to listen to your audience. So when I say this, it comes down to the fact that I'm not going to name the Kickstarters off here. I'm not going to shots fire because I've already done that with them privately. But when you have a game coming out and the playtest is going through and you're asking people who paid money to be in your playtest, their opinion, but then you don't change anything, I want my money back.
For me,
people paying $100 to $500 to be in that. No different than Steam with their green light system. I'm playing your alpha or beta to see if it's any good, and you're supposed to take our feedback and make something of it. Get it done. I worked on both sides of the spectrum. I was in video games for like 8 years. You listen to your people. You make a better game at the end of the day. It makes you a better designer.
And
it boggles me. I've seen.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, it boggles me because I will not name names, but I have seen companies I feel like literally left money on the table. Like one company was like, oh yeah, we've got like an organized play system and we keep track of things and we know what our most popular races are. And why do those races not have books out? You've got books and well, they're not our favorite races. I'm like, but
well, find someone whose it is and have them write it then.
Exactly.
I don't like Kitsune.
No.
I'm not a Kitsune fan, but they're in every Pathfinder table I've ever been at. Everybody wants to play their favorite anthropomorphic animal. Granted, if you gave me a Ninja Turtle, I'd probably be a little more in. But I'm just saying, everybody wants their favorite one. And if that's not for you to write, find the person it is for.
And that is a huge reality, that Chris brings up. And it's not just in the RPG industry, it's in the creative industry as a whole.
Yes.
Anytime you have something that's creative out there and you have something and you can find 10,000 people that would do the work for you and be paid pennies just because I can put my name on it and say, guess what? I worked on Kitsune's for Pathfinder. I did it. Every geek out there, would do it. That if that's their thing. And it's one of those things that just it is mind-boggling, why you don't listen to your fan base. So
ego.
And I think in closing for me on the coal part is this. All my coal, I kind of want to have a signed letter for it. I believe in constructive criticism. As harsh as I am on people, I do believe in having a solution to the problem. So as an artist, I know my earlier years and as a creative, it was really hard to hear that something I was doing wasn't working because you put so much work into it. So I'm being honest. I know that is part of that process where you're like, but I did this. I put all this work and this thing into it. You just need to change your process and your way of thinking when you design stuff. There needs to be a point in the middle before completion where you're taking feedback and integrating the stuff that does work. Because don't get me wrong, I understand, and I'm sorry to all the fans out there, you're not a designer or you'd be doing it too. I know that mentality. I get that. But they are still buying the product, and you do need to listen to them and what they want, because they are the one at the end of the day that are playing it, spreading the word, and making sure they're literally your flock that are helping your game do better. So
I will say this.
Step back
though.
a minute. Look at it.
I will say this to pay the counterpoint, because we had actually had a discussion about this.
Listen, Mayweather.
We had somebody that had a discussion about this, about Mountain Cook Games, essentially saying the same thing you said. But you also have to be mindful that you are in the majority when you're making and asking for these changes, because a lot of times on the interwebs you may have a small minority that may be the loudest, but they aren't necessarily the entire fan base.
That is part of your job, also owning that company, to realize what's what.
Because we've had that discussion today, saying, hey, I want this system to be like this because this is what I want, but it isn't necessarily what the majority of fans want. It may be what the smallest minority group, but they happen to be the loudest.
Well, no, 90% of the time, like, I've worked in a lot of marketing, over the years. I had to do a lot of what do you call it? A lot of metrics. And 9 times out of 10, it's about 2% that's vocal and that's disheartened with 90% of the products out there. Every now and then you do have a product that, and I'm quite sure companies do listen, and no, they listen, and then they
don't care.
but that's what I'm saying. A lot decide, well, guess what? I'm making this amount of money. I don't care.
So
there's
the 2% is the loudest. It is the loudest, but here's the problem right now. That 2% is the loudest. And unfortunately, we live in a Web 2.0 era where 2% is more like 20 because of the volume that their words are turned up to. So you do have to listen to a point. And if you don't agree with them, you have to give them a good reason why. Which brings me, like, example, we argued about this on the Cypher stuff for ages. The fact that there wasn't a past 10 difficulty, which is something that myself and my group wholly believe in. The fact that there wasn't a table for weight, material, distance, and speed for superhero games or other stuff. But they said, we're going to get something, which is awesome because they listened. That means a lot to me as a fan, that they understand that, okay, while we run our games this way, not everyone is running their Cypher games that way, and they listened. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. First, you get your black eye from your coal, then you get to heal and be better from it. So learn to dodge the punch and do the job. That's all I'm saying. Listen to your fans, because they're there because they like what you do. I know it sounds like they pick on the stuff they don't like a lot, but it's because most of them want you to be better, and they want a better thing in return. That's really what it comes down to.
I could definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I understand it. And so here I go again. My coal, and it's not a piece of coal. It's a bag of coal. No, it's
okay.
A truck. Okay, because I'm tired. I'm up to here. If it's not in the raw, it's wrong. If it's not in the rules as written, it's wrong. That drives me completely batty. Because
So you're hitting fans this time, huh?
Yes, I am. And I don't care. Okay? So what I'm saying, literally, because you know what? Like I said, I go all the way back to the little white box of D&D.
Gatekeeping is commencing. I repeat, the gatekeeping is commencing.
That's what I think about that. Right in your eye. Okay? It has nothing to do with gatekeeping. Because here's the reality. We had to adjust. Everything wasn't always written out. Even when the rules were extensive and complete, people made house rules because this rule didn't work or that rule didn't work. It's what goes on at your table. And what people need to start doing is just taking a little responsibility for themselves. You know, step out on your own and say, guess what? I made a decision today. You know what? You don't have, somebody doesn't have to tell you to take, well, you know what? You have to take 14 breaths today. You know, come on. If it's not written down, you can't play the game or you can't figure it out. It drives me up a freaking wall. It's so ridiculous. And then when you give them an answer, that's even worse. You give them an answer, you show them that the book basically left it vague for you to make a decision, and you give them 3 different things. Oh, well, that's not what the book says.
I'm sure Chris is going to agree with me on this, and I barely know Chris. I know that
Tell us how you really feel, Dean.
I know when we played in the 80s and 90s and played D&D, rules as written wasn't a term that even existed. The only time you heard those rules is when you passed over to miniature gaming. When you got the no, rules as written says that my XYZ does XYZ. And what ended up happening is those ended up merging for a while, I believe, when you got into the D20 craze with 3.0 and up. A little bit in Palladium days, a little bit back then, a little bit in the Rifts days. But rules and written wasn't a thing because, and this is something that I think the GMs and players miss, the trust fall isn't established before you start your game, where you go, hey, there's a chance that rules are going to change during this version of our game. We are going to canonize things that aren't raw because it fits our personalities and our style of play. And I think the problem with this, I'm throwing it back at the companies. I'm sorry, Dean. Teach your people how to play your game the way that you want the game to be played. I think Blades in the Dark does a fantastic job at teaching you how to run their game because every game runs a little different. You can't run Apocalypse World the same way as you run D&D. It just doesn't work.
Chris, so you gonna chime in because I think I got a lot to say on this topic as well.
Well,
Chris.
I'm going to be a little guilty because I think what happened was, and you mentioned that era right there, when it came to D20, that was an era of player empowerment. That was how it was pitched. And that power employment boiled down to, no, GM, it's right here. I can do the thing I want to do, and you can't say anything about it. Yeah.
But see, also though, but the biggest thing is, and it's something, and I'm gonna say this because I know Anthony got something, but it's something that's not in a lot of books anymore either. There was also that one beautiful line.
But that's not enough. That's my point. That's not enough. One line doesn't teach. One line doesn't teach. It just preaches. It doesn't.
But I'm just saying, it was these rules are guidelines. You know what I'm saying? And they will give you options. And there were methodologies and there were reasons behind it, just like now. You know, so continue, Chris. I'm sorry. You said that.
No. I mean, that was kind of it. It was, because before that, it was much more in the GM's preview. And then, I feel a little torn because while I'm not a fan at all of rules lawyers, because mostly what they seem to do is stop the game when it doesn't go their way. And there's some that are not, and everybody wants to say, oh, this and that and the other. It did revitalize the game a huge chunk for having people come in and be able to say, hey, I feel empowered to say something, but it's because I have this safety net of, read as raw. But that kind of, as Dean's pointed out, I think that's kind of gone past being a safety net to like, now I don't know what to do. Yeah. I hear all the time that, back in the day, they're like, stats for Gandalf. He could do what he could do because he was Gandalf in our game. We didn't put stats to him. And then he had stats for deities and demigods. Well, I'm sure it was some other module. But
stats
as
are there,
things
I
get-
think, and rules are there, like you said. It's to put the power to the players, but it also was to help the GM be able to run a game with the players being on the same page. It just eventually got weaponized against the GM.
I think the guys are
Real quick, I'm
both right.
Joanne just made a great statement in the chat. She said, if you stat at players, we try to kill it.
Truth.
You see, I think early D&D was rulings over rules, and then it slowly moved on to codified
100%.
rules for everything, like what Chris and Erik said, right? And now it's heading in towards like that gray area where it's a little more rulings over rules, but we still want to have rules to satisfy those people that need rules.
Well,
right?
now it's system specific. Indie is one version, and like the big three are another. And
Yeah, but
organized
hold on a
play
second.
really lights that fire.
But what the point I was like trying to reach at is that I think where Dean is trying to get at, and I think he kind of Dean harped on one specific game instead of just stating it like this. But there's two styles of games, right? You have games with codified rules that have everything mapped out for you, the Pathfinders, the 3.5 D&Ds, the hero systems, the GURPS, and then you have the more narrative style games, the Apocalypse Worlds, the Ciphers, the Fates, the Black Hacks, right? And you get this disconnect, this cross when one person goes from this style of game to the next one and expect the same experience that they got from playing this style of game in the other game. And that's where the problem lies. The problem lies is the person that comes from the heavy crunchy game into a narrative game and then states, hey, why isn't there this random rule for this? Because I'm used to playing that. And then when they're told, hey, this system we work in ranges, or, we don't need every distance codified. We don't need every weapon to have the same type, a different damage number, right? They're told, where is that in the rules? So, and it works the other way around too. If I'm playing Pathfinder, right, and I'm not playing Pathfinder to complain that there's too many rules. I'm gonna accept what the game system is and get my enjoyment from that game system. The complaint Dean is having is that you have that crossover where someone is used to a crunchy system, they go to a rules light system and want to change the basic design philosophy of that game.
Don't forget there's also Don't forget there's also that allure of system mastery. I know this game inside and out, and it makes them go, well, every other game should have this because I want to be rewarded for knowing everything. I think one level at one point in Pathfinder, I heard there were trap builds, like builds that looked good but were really traps, and they were designed on purpose that way because they were trying to trick you to see how much system mastery you truly knew. I don't even know if that was actually a thing, but that
was just people making stuff up. As someone who worked in that.
But there's some enjoyment in that, right?
No,
there's some
enjoyment
in that. And there's enjoyment in those style of games for that sort of gameplay.
No,
but
don't
in the
get me
same
wrong.
sense, if you play Fate, right, you can't go into playing Fate saying, I want to rule for firing a 22 pistol at
you can do that. It's called Dresden
distance
Files
on the half cover, in the middle at midnight. Like, you're not going to get that rule.
But and see, that's what I'm saying. You know what? I have Pathfinder 2. I've played Pathfinder 2. I enjoy Pathfinder 2 for what it is.
Love it.
When I sit there and play that, I can have a good time because that's the mindset I'm in. But when I come and sit down at my Cypher system cable, I know I'm getting ready to have some cinematic action. I don't have to worry about a lot of rules. I can concentrate on the story. I can move it along. If something does need to be ruled on, we make a ruling and we keep it moving. There's no I don't need, like we're talking about range bands versus ranges. Immediate range. I know in immediate range means I can reach out and touch it. Short range means it's across the room. And so on and so forth. It's just, and it's frustrating. And it's very frustrating when, people, want to tell you you're wrong, or, you're giving misinformation, and especially when you sit down and you preface things and you tell someone, listen, this is how I do it at my table. This is the ruling that I use at my table. I didn't say this is the ruling everybody does. This is how it works here. And this is the fun we had doing it this way.
2 words. Session 0, Dean. Sounds like you don't do enough session 0s.
Oh, no. I do session 0s all the time.
I'm throwing coal at you.
No, I know you are.
I think Dean's frustration lies from people complaining about systems without fully understanding the design aspect of the system itself. You know what I mean? And it worked, and like it works the other way around. If you're a person that only plays Fate, only plays Black Hack, and then you go and sit down and play GURPS, and you be like, oh, this is horrible. I have to memorize all these rules. That's what the system is. Play it and enjoy it for what it is. You know what I mean?
So, Cypher shout out, right? How many times have you found that someone who's never played a role-playing game picks up Cypher like that? And it's the people who've played the hardcore games that are they're the ones that are like so confused, like, because it has too many twists compared to what they expect for a game.
Instead of having a 4 crayon box, you have 64 crayons. And when you go to Cypher, you're like, no, you have all the primary colors. You can make whatever you want.
Right. And that's what
you're
I'm
good.
saying.
Here, just let's go.
And I use this example all the time. My wife was never a gamer. She did not game. She did not get into it until she met me 6 years ago. When we first started out together, I tried to give her D&D, and she's, honey, it's kind of fun, but I sat down with a Cypher game, the first Cypher game we sat down and played, and now she runs No Thank You Evil for the kids because she gets it. She runs No Thank You Evil for her grandkids.
It works the other way around too. I have friends that played Cypher once, like a great friend of mine that passed away recently, Jason. I tried to get him into Cypher, but he was a GURPS guy. He played it once or twice, and it wasn't for him.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean? But that's the same. That's the same thing.
I prefer having a stat for everything, and that's okay too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I'm
no,
just saying,
but that's what
noticed
that trend. Saying that people who have played the crunchy systems have difficulty flipping over to the narrative. I mean, I've told the story 1,000 times. When I first started playing Cypher System, when I played Numenera back in 2013, the first 2 games I played were disasters because I was still holding on to D&D and Pathfinder and and Hero System. I was still holding on to that concept. And the minute I broke myself out of that, the minute I stepped onto the other side and looked at it and said, wait a minute, this is how this is supposed to work. Oh, I see it now. Cypher System became a bevy of happiness for me. When I realized I could adapt things easily and quickly,
I think another aspect is trying to change a system to make it more comfortable for you instead of playing the way the system was designed in the first place.
Here's my wrap up. I'm going to wrap up for this one really quick. I think I have a good closing statement for this. When you are playing a new game and switching systems and you have these problems because you're coming from either a rules light or a rules heavy system, there are a couple things you got to ask yourself. 1, what type of game are you getting ready to play? 2, who are you playing it with? And are they already of the mindset of the game you're getting ready to play? And 3, find a part in the book, if it exists, that explains how playing this game feels, like what you're doing. And if you can't find that, guess what? We all have YouTube. Go watch some people playing the game and what it's like, and you will quickly learn how heavy the rules are or not to get a feel before you go in. That's like going into a boxing, as we've been talking about, and never boxed before. You're going to get your bell rung. But if you train a little bit and go in,
ask the basketball player.
What's going on?
Ask that basketball player.
Exactly. I wasn't picking on him. I'm just saying
I am.
that
I know. It's funny you say that because we literally had someone today explain all the things wrong with Cypher System, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end, ended it with, I never played it before.
Yeah, so then it's
But
it's one, it's not
took
for you. That's great. Two,
You
why are
took
you
a
in
half
Cypher
an hour
Unlimited?
to explain to everybody everything that was horrible about it.
Yeah. Play a
But you
game,
never
learn
ran
it.
it before.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I would definitely say. To really know his system, play both sides of the screen.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
And then to all the companies out there, and this is the hardest thing for me as a designer, teaching people how to run my setting or game in a way that conveys properly. I think that's the hardest thing for me as a designer to do, is convey that tabletop feel that I'm trying to get across with the game. I can give you as many rules as I want, but conveying the context and feel of the game is the hardest piece. So yeah, I mean, it's a good call. Thanks for taking us into the mine.
We had Siraj LP say, I started with Mutants and Masterminds for several years, found Numenera, and fell in love with the system. I'm going to say this. I absolutely love both those games because I'm a big fan of Mutants and Masterminds as well.
Well, you know I love superheroes. I played plenty of Mutants and Masterminds. I have all 3 editions sitting over there. You know? So, yeah. And Joanne, absolutely. Supers meets Shadowrun. We can do that anytime you want.
Wait, Dean's going to run a game?
Does anybody in the chat have a... I'm sorry. Does anybody in the chat have a code they would like to mention?
Yeah. Do you want to throw coal at somebody?
Yeah, come on, throw some coal out there. I know you got some coal, Joanne.
Discuss it.
Joanne, Josh, come on. I know you both of you guys got some coal. Come on.
Someone said you covered mine.
And I throw coal for improvement. That's how I throw coal. I think it's great.
But all right, well, if we have no coal coming in from those in the outer realms, I guess it's time for us to start wrapping things up.
Struck gold.
Hey, but basically, first of all, let me say thank you to Chris and to Erik for coming on the show today.
Of course.
Anthony, thank you for having our annual Naughty and Nice, so I get to at least have one rant. It's like having the purge. I get a purge every year about this time. Everybody out there who joined us tonight, thank you. And Anthony.
First of all, once again, Erik, Chris, you know how I feel about you guys. I love you guys. Thank you so much for coming on. Happy Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. Whatever you choose to celebrate, I just want to let the audience know Happy Holidays to you. I hope I'm not sure if we're gonna have an episode next week due to the holidays. So if not, whatever holiday you do celebrate, I hope you have a healthy and happy one and a safe and glorious New Year. It can't come soon enough. If you like us and you like what we do, please follow Cypher Unlimited on Discord. You can join our Discord server. We have the largest fan-run Cypher system Discord out there. We have over 3,500 members, games being run every day. You could also visit our Ko-fi and give us a little donation, or visit our online store and pick up some cool swag like I got on right now. We have hats, t-shirts. Every little bit helps. It helps us with.
He's got the retro.
Yep, the retro.
The original.
With little things like Zoom course. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitch. Like, share, and subscribe our stuff. Like always, our videos are always free, but every little bit helps, and we appreciate any donations. Someone asked us on YouTube if we were gonna start a Patreon. We absolutely are. We're trying to figure out, what's the best stuff we could offer people that pledge to our Patreon, and hopefully we can get guys like these to write articles for us. You never know, it might happen. But yeah, we definitely working on that. We also working on a website. We hopefully 2021 is going to be big things for us, and we just appreciate all the support we've gotten from not only MCG but you guys. We love y'all.
So here's what I want. I got gift time. Chris, you got anything going on you want to share? You got anything you're getting ready to publish or put out?
Right now I'm still working on.
No, go. I didn't know he was doing that.
Actually, Dean and I we're working on converting the Diamond Throne setting, which was a Mighty Cook setting back in the day for their Arcana Evolved, and turning it to Cypher. Surprise.
I'm excited to see how you handle magic.
I'm sure. Ask
Dean. You're going to get something before even that comes out for Magic. So I got something for you.
Yeah.
me and Chris have already kind of consulted on that, and the prototype is done. So
Sweet.
maybe a month or
that
so.
excites me.
Maybe a month or so. There'll be something for everybody.
So a preview copy for me? Is that what you're saying?
Sure, why not? Absolutely. So, that being said, too, though, and also the little thing with Shadow of the Demon Lord as well, working on that.
He's one of my top.
So,
3
Chris, how can you be reached on the interwebs?
On the interwebs? Well, that's a good question because I lose track of it all sometimes. So I've got, I'm at Twitter at Chris R. Negelien, which is Negelein, which that explains why I go by Christopher Robin quite a bit. Robin's my middle name. It's easier to remember Christopher Robin than it is my last name.
Winnie the Pooh.
Exactly. My blog is The Bright Cave. My Patreon is Patreon at Ganza Gaming, because that's what I'm known as with Cypher. And also, you can see some older YouTube things that I did when I did my own actual play with using Cypher for A Day After Ragnarok, which was a really awesome setting by Ken Hite, that where basically the Nazi occultists were right, and Big Boy, or was it Little Boy? Little Boy, instead of going to Japan, went into the eye of the Midgard serpent. And then I'm also in coffee as well.
And of course, we're going to have all the links down here on Twitch and on our YouTube video as well, so they can follow you. Please follow Chris. Not only is he a great friend of the show, he's a very talented writer and a great person all around. Erik, where can we find you on the interwebs?
I'm Erik. Frankhouse presents everywhere. The only place I'm not like that is like Xbox. I brand myself. And I have a secret surprise actually for the evening. So one of our sponsors is Norse Foundry for the Athantia stream, and we have been working together for the last couple of weeks to put something together. And starting in January, over on Norse Foundry on Twitch, we are going to be doing a 2-show format cyberpunk. One show is everyone coming and showing up and helping build the mission that the players go play on that following Wednesday. Right. We're going to be using cards for you to help build it and cards during the show. And they're going to be playing a rock band, I believe it's rock, that is touring, trying to get things done. And when we have guest stars on, basically they're touring in another city and coming back home.
Nice.
So it's going to be super fun. I'm really pumped for this, with Cyberpunk being the game that so many are playing. All the people have problems with the bugs and stuff like that. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the people who are playing the game. We all who played Fallout know bugs just exist in these games. And I am super pumped to be running this with them. And then other than that, every first and third Tuesday, I do the Athantia Dark Tides, which is my Pathfinder soul punk Victorian horror setting. This Friday is a stream where we build the city together. So that has been a riot. We had our largest numbers yesterday for our longest stream we've done so far. And I love being on the show with you guys. You guys are like family.
Erik, for those that don't know, he's a 3-time IGM winner at Gen Con. He's a hell of a cartographer. He's probably one of my top 3 GMs of all time. I absolutely love the guy.
Thanks.
Don't tell him because he's an asshole, but I love him nonetheless. But yeah, please follow Erik on any social media. Watch his shows. He's one of the best GMs I've ever seen. And yeah, you definitely got to follow him. And he has an awesome podcast as well, Erik Frankhouse Presents, which he didn't mention. You can follow him on iTunes or any of the other podcast catchers. He's out there. He gives great advice, so definitely follow him.
Under 25 minutes usually, except for that last interview one. I did an interview with Beetle and Grimm, which is real long.
Yeah. So everybody who's on the stream with us, hang out with us for a few more moments, because as we end, we're going to go raid Rule of Lore. Gonna do a raid on those guys, because that's what we do. Let's show some love out there. Joanne did come up with one thing before she left. She said, for all the people who complain, you know what? If you can do it better, then do it. Stop talking about it. Be about it. You know. And Josh seconded that motion. So that was her lump of coal out there. So I just had to make sure everybody heard that too. I
give advice and ideas, because if you're good enough to do it, do it. Because otherwise, I just consider you a listener.
Hey, That's why.
I mean,
That's why
an
there's something for
excellent
magic
closing
coming.
statement, and I don't feel right saying this, but from us at the CU, we will see you later.
Oh, I can't believe someone needs to clip that.
Raid.